Are you ready for the greatest show in fantasy football history, hosted by the incomparable Scott Connor and the one and only RayGQue? I present to you Destination Chill, where football and fantasy collide.
Let's get it, GEGP. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good people. It is Wednesday, October the 18th, 2023, and y'all decided to tap in and chill with myself and my co-host, Scott Connor at Charles Chill, FFB on X. Week 6 is in the books, baby. Week 6 is in the books. We got a full crowd in the building tonight. What's happening? Cold World, Job Web, Conja in the building. I see Brandon in here right now. Bunch of folks. Peter tapping in. Scott, man, Week 6 of the NFL is over, and we're at that point in the Dynasty season where we didn't want to come on the stream tonight and go deep. We didn't want to have a deep dive conversation. I feel like the past 2-3 episodes, we have really dug into Dynasty, the theory, psychology. So tonight, we wanted to relax. We wanted to chill. We really wanted to engage with the chat on this one. So please, holler at us in the chat. Comment. We want to get to you, talk to you what you want to talk about tonight. Try to, if we can, theory, thoughts on players, what's your guys' takeaway through this part of the season. But before we get started, man, Scott, you seem to be a little more modest than I am, like, a little more even kill guy and not a bragger. But you've got a birthday tomorrow, my friend. You've got a birthday, and I have zero shame. So I feel like we should sing happy birthday to you on the stream. Scott may not want that, but I might sing. I'm not going to sing to you tonight. We got to get into the damn show. But happy early birthday to you, my friend. It's a blessing to be here to do this show with you. Our friendship throughout the years, the things that you've taught me, the areas in Dynasty in which I've grown thanks to you, man. I'm just happy and blessed to be able to be in this partnership with you and be able to rock out with you each and every week. So happy early birthday, and how are you, my friend?
That was very unexpected. Thank you very much. And I loved the good evening, good people. I hadn't heard that one before, but bringing that to this show. Yeah, just feeling the vibes on this show. This has been, the last couple episodes have been, I don't want to say like super deep in thought, but we've really kind of hashed out some of the personal stuff that we have dealt with in Dynasty. Sending out the trades, ranting about people's not responding or not picking a direction. So tonight's just going to be a chill show. Appreciate everybody in the chat with the birthday wishes. And there's some stuff coming. Ray's announced it with the Trinity stuff, and we're going to be talking more war going forward. So there's going to be some hard-hitting, in-depth analysis that's really going to dive deep into the strategy and psychology of the game. So that's going to be coming in the next couple weeks. So we're just going to sit back, lean on the chat. A couple things I'm going to ask you that you don't know about, and I know you have some topics you're going to bring up. So we're going to kind of surprise each other with some of the discussions and then lean on whatever anybody in the chat wants to talk about tonight. What are you feeling? I may even answer some player take questions. They might be different than what you typically hear, but I'm not immune to just giving opinions, because anytime we're in the Discord, people will still message me, hey, who would you pick between this receiver or that receiver? And you know how hard it is for me, Ray, not to just go check out the war tool, have a process, but I don't really care. But yeah, we get a lot of those, and I'm thankful for everybody here. It's been 40 years on Earth, and super happy to be here. Our friendship, everything we've built together with this show and everything else. So thank you much. Let's get into it. I'm ready.
Yeah, just getting started. So please holler at us. Super chats are prioritized. And on Scott's birthday, hit the super chats up in the comment. Let's get to it. But Scott, so much has changed from the start of the Dynasty season to now. Hell, from the start of rookie draft season through the summer, through the start of the NFL season, so much has changed. So I wanted to kind of start the show off with a little brain buster for you to see if you can just get the top 5 right. I just want the top 5 rookies, super flex rookies right now. You know what we're using. Don't you dare cheat either. Can you give me the top 5 2023 Dynasty rookies right now according to Keep Trade Cut, super flex, top 5, 1 to 5? Give it to me.
Well, maybe it's a little cheating, but I did watch your rookie report.
Gosh
already.
Dang it, Scott.
Oh, you were testing me. Now,
I was testing you.
Now, I will say this. I also consume 30 hours of content a day. That's literally all I'm doing all day while I'm working. So I know first is Bijan still, and then we got Richardson and Stroud at 2 and 3. I was surprised with Gibbs was outside of the top 5, but I guess with how reactionary the space is now, that doesn't really shock me. I want to say Sam Laporta was in the top 5, which also shocked me because neither you or I would put him in the top 5 of anything but a holy shit, that scoring for tight ends is crazy format.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe Puka was at number 4. Is that right?
Puka was 6. Achane was 4. Puka was 6.
Okay, that's right. Yep. So Achane and then Laporta and then Puka. Yep. And then Gibbs was 7. JSN 8.
No, Flowers 8. Flowers 8.
Flowers.
Addison 9. Bryce Young 10. So just thinking about
Bryce Fall is crazy, man.
So talk about it. Just the top 10 rookies right now compared to where we were. Devon Achane was a back-end first, early second. Sam Laporta, hell, we were telling people you don't take tight ends that early anyway. So he was going mid of the second round. Puka, who knows where he was going, I don't know, 3rd, 4th round. Gibbs, Flowers, Addison, and Bryce. It's your top 10 rookies, Scott, after 6 weeks. Just hearing that, realizing that CJ Stroud is currently valued as the QB7, JRich QB10, Achane RB6, Sam Laporta tight end 1, and Puka Nacua wide receiver 12. What does this tell you about Dynasty, where we're heading, looking ahead to 2024 rookies? Like just hearing that top 10 based on what we thought about these players, how we valued them a few weeks ago. What does this just tell you? Let's start it off with that.
Well, it definitely reflects some of the recency bias that we talk about. Because it actually tells me that you have Puka inside the top 6, which means that has adjusted faster than I would have expected. Now, the real question is if JSN was putting up Puka's numbers, where would he be? He'd be, 1 or 2, 3? I mean, he'd be top 3 easy. It's hard to take him over QBs, but I think right now, if he was putting up Puka numbers, he'd be at the almost like unbreakable wide receiver range, right? So that's some bias right there. I do think you mentioned it on the show. I remember you specifically signaled out Sam Laporta, but also Devon Achane, as they have a little bit of that ADV. The Cape Trade Cut price says Sam Laporta is a top 5 rookie in the class, but are there a lot of tight end markets that are actually honoring that? And now you're trying to weigh, okay, if I have Sam Laporta, and he's now technically tight end 1 in Dynasty, and I think Achane is running back 4 in Dynasty, right? So, man, they're really far up there from the positional standpoint. But the real question is, and maybe this is a recent thing, or maybe this is just a trend in the Dynasty space overall, how much market power do you feel like you have when you're holding Sam Laporta on a team? How much market power do you feel like you have? Purchasing power, right? Like what's the credit limit on my credit card? It doesn't feel unlimited if I'm going to the market with a Sam Laporta to trade. It feels like it costs a lot when you want to buy him from somebody else. But if I have him and I go, hey, Sam Laporta is available, who wants to talk about trading me a Jamar Chase or a Jalen Hurts? Does it even feel like that even gets you in the conversation or to the table? Even though Keep Trade Cut says, hey, it's a top 5 rookie. That's a top 5 rookie pick. And it's the same with running back. Even Bijan. You bring him into a trade, okay, the person will listen, but as soon as you start talking about, I want Josh Allen, man, can't move Josh Allen for a running back. He's a running back. And then A-Chain, that's a whole nother story. But it feels like those positions, and I don't know where the future of this goes. I'm kind of curious at what the chat says. Where is the future of? Is it just going to be draft picks, quarterbacks, and receivers, and not even all quarterbacks? There's a lot of quarterbacks. We'll talk about this in the future on War Games. How flat the quarterback production is this year. Like, what really has market power? What can you buy with these days? Is it just if I'm selling something that everyone likes this week, that's the ticket? I mean, really, what is it? I'm just curious because it feels like if you're holding running backs, if you're holding tight ends, you're holding a lot of quarterbacks. Like, what gets you to get deals done? I don't know.
I think it's all art. I don't think we talked about this in the Discord. If y'all aren't over there, highly suggest you tap into the channel. But I talked about this the other day. I went on a little adventure, Scott, trying to buy me some Devon Achane, who's on damn IR, from teams that are either contending right now, they're competing, and they're down to running backs, like completely wiped, depleted of running backs. I'm trying to send Jonathan Taylor, Kenneth Walker, all these guys to package up in some sort of deal to get that Achane and acquire a first. Not a single person wanted to do it, man. Just can't do that. I don't know if I can trade him. I don't feel like doing that now. I need to wait another week on Jonathan Taylor. And conversely, having these players, I've got an Achane. Can't sell him for anything. Same league I try to buy him for, try to give up Jonathan Taylor to get him. The other manager can't do it. I've got Achane. I try to go buy JT. Nobody wants to do that. It feels like there are very few players that have true purchasing power. It feels like when you have a Laporta or an Achane, it's like they gave you a credit limit of $10,000, but they got a hold on $7,500 right now. Like, we approved you conditionally for 10, but we got to wait a little bit before we release the full amount to you. We'll give you 25 to play with, but you're not getting the full amount. Kind of feels like what a lot of these players are right now. I talked about it on the Rookie Report show. Bijan Robinson is still valued as the rookie RB1. And Scott, today more than ever, I still feel that is an awful choice. Like, it is a bad investment of rookie draft capital. I don't care how good Bijan is. Has nothing to do with how talented he is. Go try to trade Bijan for CJ Stroud right now straight up and see what happens. Go try to do that in Superflex and you'll get laughed out of the building. Maybe, just maybe, you might be able to buy Anthony Richardson now that he's on IR. But go send that Bijan for Stroud straight up. Go send Bijan for JRich before he was ruled out with the AC joint sprain. You're not buying either of those guys with Bijan Robinson. It has nothing to do with him or his talent or any of that stuff. It has to do with this position. And when I'm looking here and I'm seeing the 6th best player value-wise at running back is Devon Achane, tells me everything I need to know about that market, and that market is absolutely cooked right now. I don't think the Dynasty community knows what to do with value. I think the term value, it's so overused now that it honestly probably means nothing because it's league specific. And it's forcing me, Scott, and I told you this, I want to play the day trading game even more now. I do not care much about what is going to happen 3 years from now, 2 years from now. Hell, they're trying to run Justin Herbert out of the league right now. He's overrated, not worth the contract. So who has value? Like, who has value right now? Maybe a handful of players. Maybe.
Yeah, I think we have to start looking at the lens of, and I've talked about this for a couple of years, but it's starting to come to, I think, fruition in a lot more of my leagues where the value that you have on your roster isn't so much like what Keep Trade Cut says it is. It's hard to measure. It's also how much flexibility and liquidity do you have at any given moment. And part of that flexibility and liquidity is the weekly player demands that you see. There's weeks where if you have certain players, you can get stuff done. Now, to get stuff done, you have to be willing to move those players. You have to be willing to move them at a reasonable price where there's still a buyer. But some of those same players 2 weeks from now can't move them. And a lot of times we use the words, Ray, can't move them. The reality is we don't want to move them based on where they currently sit. The stock price is down 27% from last week. Why would you sell unless you think that's going down even further or it's going to zero? I mean, I'll give an example. Quentin Johnston. We had a discussion the other night via text about Quentin Johnston. I'm like, man, this feels like one of those players where it's the negative trinity, right? That he's got nothing going for him to where you can think people are going to buy back in, shy of him just going out and playing well and producing. Right. But I think even then, even if he goes out and said, like, this was one I posed in the Heisman chat just with QJ. Is it crazy to think that in 2 years, QJ has a similar career in terms of production to Josh Palmer, numbers-wise?
No, it's not crazy to think that.
And I don't want to say that that's the best he can do, but if that's all he does, I'm sitting here thinking through that like, man, should I send – because I sold 3 of my 6 Quentin Johnstons for seconds. That is the portfolio player, doesn't care, getting out for – 70% of what I paid, because he usually bought him, in the end of the first round in drafts. And a lot of people are like, man, that's selling low. But part of what I'm betting on is I don't think he's going to ever bring back the liquidity or the flexibility off of a good game. You may have 1 or 2 people that are like, okay, I like him now, because that's just how they play. They don't really have a lot of opinions. They'll like whoever's playing well at the time. But there's still going to be a sector, and this is what you reminded me of. There's still half the people that hated him to begin with. And it's not going to be 1 game, 2 games, 3 games where they snap out of it. It would take like a Puka stretch of 3 games for the haters to go, okay, I'm in, right? So I think there's some psychology behind that of being able to identify, if you're going to play the day trading game, if you're going to talk about accruing value, you really have to look at it, not just the keep trade cut price or the trade calculator price. What can this get me next week? Does it get me what I need this week? But can I see a world where next week it gets me even more? And it's not just what player production I get, is how flexible I can then be because I have this player. Justin Fields is another one. We had a lot of discussions about him over the last couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah.
I know on Wake Up on Monday, you guys talked about him at length. And let's face it, he's a player that he's already been given so many chances from a lot of people that it doesn't feel like there's another rebound. And it's your fault if you held that for the last 3 times the cycle has rebounded back to respectability, where you could have got out at him for something, And now it's like, it just doesn't feel like that's going to come back again. Maybe I'm wrong. But how do you get to identifying that quicker than the market? Because that's the day trading game. If you can't understand, like, what is the market going to do next? What are people going to prefer? You're going to have trouble getting trades done, because it isn't even about what the price is. What this player is worth on this calculator. We talked about it last week and the week before. How do you motivate the people you're playing with to make the deal? Even if it's fair value, they go, man, I just can't do it. Well, why? Well, they don't owe you an explanation. I think that's the key.
The more I think about it, you asked this question at the start of that. You said, what player or what is it that motivates somebody to make a deal? Who's actually tradable now? And the more I think about this, man, the players and the deals I'm more, it seems like I've been able to get done more than the others. It's not trading Bijan Robinson. It's not trading Puka Nacua. It's trading the idea and the hope that one of these other guys can turn into something. The hope that Tajay Spears can turn into the next Devon Achane if he just gets a little more opportunity. Let Derrick Henry get traded. Let Derrick Henry get traded and watch the market demand on Tajay Spears. And what has to happen is you got to make the bet before he does anything. You either have to buy or sell without him going out there. If Derrick Henry got moved before his first initial start, you've got to have the conviction to be on one side or the other. It's moving a player like Rashee Rice right now, who's still valued as wide receiver 40 on Keep Trade Cut. But those are the players that it seems like people are willing to buy. And as I move forward, those are the players that I've been able to get seconds for all over the place. Just can I send Rashee Rice and something else, get back a player in a second? Can I send Tajay Spears and something else and get back a player in a second? It's the idea and the hope that these players can become more than what they are, because everybody's chasing the shiny new thing. in life. That's what a lot of people are looking for, the next best thing. Your car works just fine, but you're on fucking cars.com trying to see the trade-in value. You're upside down, negative equity. Ah, man, you can just roll that right into an 84-month loan that you're about to take out on this terrible player. You know, everything is working fine, but we are thirsting for the next breakout tight end, breakout wide receiver. Those are the players that I've seen a lot of people be able to move. It's the Rashee Rices, the Tank Dells, the Tajay Spears, because you got one market that thinks like us that I don't really care. They're just a body right now with some hype until they do anything otherwise. And you got the other side that is strongly convicted on those type of players that they could become something down the line. But that's just sort of my overall thoughts on it. It's an interesting market, Scott. But we got some comments, we got some chats, and I want to get to some of these right now. Here goes one. Right, let's go. Let's start at the top right here from Manuel E. Henderson. Says, Scott, estes con las mananitas que cantaba El Rey Henry. Congrats. I know El Rey is King Henry. I know that's King Henry. I know that for sure. El Rey is king. King Henry, congrats. The Spanish was awful. I tried hard. Appreciate you sending in the super chat. David sent one in right here. Appreciate you, David. We got another one from Tyler. Happy birthday, Scott. Loved you on the spotlight with Mike. Your boy, Shane. Do I trade Gibbs for Puka? Team has no need. It's smashing and hammers everywhere. This must be some insider joke. Scott, what is this?
I don't know what this one is, personally. I don't have any Puka or Gibbs or anything back and forth with Shane, so it must have been something that I'm not getting, or fill me in, Shane. I don't know. Would you trade Gibbs for Puka? I don't know, man.
Why not?
That is a perfect example of one of those where, and I'll just say this because we've experienced this year, especially playing in some leagues with multiple copies. And it is fascinating trying to react faster, because part of what it is when you're playing in leagues, even if it's just one league, but copy leagues really magnify it, because you're trying to contend, build your dynasty team, but also play the day trading game at the same time. And you see other people making these deals, and you see other people doing things, and you're like, damn, that's actually really sharp. Like, I'm going to have to beat that person down the line, whether it's they sold their excess player for a first, which they're going to use the first later on
to go buy somebody
else to try to beat you. And so you see moves like that. So it's just a different game. And that's really what stemmed the topic for tonight, was that is what I'm feeling in my dynasty career at this point. Is it's fun. Don't get me wrong. I love the game theory of being able to play this way. I love the activity, because activity picks up. People are more engaged for the most part. But man, it also can feel sometimes like that. Don't you feel sometimes, Ray, if you're not making a move in a week, that you're falling behind?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And that never used to be that way. So I don't know if anyone else is feeling that, but it feels like if you don't do something soon every week. Now, there's weeks where you look at your roster, you're like, okay, I'm feeling good. I don't really have to do much here.
Right.
But it just feels like now more than ever, if you're just not staying ahead of some of the edges and staying ahead of the market every single week, it's like, man, if I just let my team ride, I build a good team and I just let it ride, it's almost like it's down 20% because I didn't do anything during the season. Anything. Right. Yeah. And should that be true in Dynasty or not? I don't know, but that's the reality. So I know I took Shane's question off on a tangent, but
chat is tearing me up for my Spanish there. I tried very hard, but the chat is on my head. I apologize. But yeah, man, and also, don't you sometimes you wake up and you check waivers and you're thinking, damn, how did I see that player? At least today, I felt like that today. There were a couple of players that cleared, and I'm just like, how did I not see that player?
Who'd you miss on? Who'd you miss?
Dude, how was Malik Willis chilling out there in a couple of leagues? And I'm not even, has nothing to do with his long-term stuff, but he's probably going to get some spot starts. Like, how did I miss Malik Willis?
All three copies, Ray, were out there.
3 chances.
The thing is, you bid on other players. So
I'll tell you this. Cedric Tillman was like numero uno. The fact that he was out there,
bid on Cedric Tillman.
I was like, that's a player that if he just does a little something, I know I'll be able to sell him. Like, I was like, him, I want him. I meant to adjust the Britton Strange bid, but I didn't even see Malik. I didn't even see him out there, Scott. So, yes, I woke up today and I felt like, damn, Ray, you let not one, not two, but three potential starting quarterbacks in a league where QB starts are so important, 36-team league, you let that slide through. Like, how the hell did that happen? And I did grind the waivers that morning. Like, I had all that shit set, and I still missed it. So, yeah, it felt like I missed a little bit, man.
Yeah, trust me, being in 50-plus leagues, there are leagues where I go, damn, I forgot waivers ran. And I try to check them every single week. But, yeah, there's to end this topic, because we could just rant on this, and that was not the intent of the show. But just it feels like especially if you're playing in 10-plus leagues, if you're in 30, 40, I mean, you definitely feel it. But even if you're just in 10, it just feels like and maybe it's just kind of my OCD in a lot of ways where I'm like, man, I got to get every team to a point where I feel comfortable with it. But it just does feel like if you just sit there and you miss a couple waiver runs, you have a couple bad weeks, you haven't made a trade, you really haven't made a move, you're just sitting in 8th place, but you have a good enough team to make the playoffs, it just feels like you're falling behind, especially when you see other people in your league doing stuff.
Got a couple right here, man. Dynasty Life Fantasy Football says he's a contending team. All right, contending team, 12 teams, start 10, super flex, does not have his first. All right, does not have his first, 4 and 2. All right, traded Justin Jefferson and Garrett Wilson for Jamar Chase, Chris Godwin, Josh Palmer, Dameon Pierce, Deontay Foreman, and a third. What do you think about that? What do you think about that?
It's a pretty expensive tax to get off JJ for Chase, right? I mean, I'm okay paying the tax to get Chase for JJ, right? I'm okay with that. But he paid a Garrett Wilson tax and got back.
Yeah.
In a start 10, I don't love getting back 5 pieces. I know you can probably start Godwin. You can probably start Palmer. I was just telling somebody in the Discord earlier today, they were asking me, man, should I start buying running backs? And I'm like, man, what running backs are you thinking about buying? And it was named Dameon Pierce or Najee Harris. I'm like, dude, those are you're better off picking up a body and just starting the body. There's no difference. Jordan Mason, you know what I mean? So I don't really just see any added value in Pierce and Foreman in that third there. So I don't like it, Ray. I don't like paying a Garrett Wilson tax to go from JJ to Chase. No thanks.
Yeah, and I think the lesson in this one is when I see this come through my inbox and I realize that I'm giving up one elite BAM tier type player in Jefferson and another elite light type player in Garrett Wilson, and you're throwing me, this is the classical GQ trade where I give you something good and then a bunch of things that I really don't care about. Like once I see Foreman, a third, I know you're taking whatever shit is left in the bottom of the bin and you're making just whatever with it. Like literally the third and Foreman, I do not care. It's really Godwin, Palmer, and Pierce, in my opinion, for Justin Jefferson and Garrett Wilson, and I'd rather have that side. So hopefully it works out for you. Here's another one. 12-team Superflex start 9 PPR. Are we trading Bijan for Devon Achane and a 25 first? Guaranteed the first will be top 6. Good chance it's top 3 with their roster. So we're guaranteeing this 2 years out. They don't have a 24 first. Scott, talk about this one here from Creed Bratton from The Office.
Man, I like the concept of this deal. This is a true, especially if you're saying that's a top 3 pick, because it's not even about who you're going to get. You hear a lot of this analysis, man, that's a 2025 first that's going to be top 3, and people start rattling off that's Nick Singleton or Drew. I don't give a shit about who the players are. If that's a top 3 first, think about how many windows there are going to be between now and Christmas of 2024 to where the league is going to go, damn, that's a top 4 pick next year. That's why you're doing a deal like this. It's not for the 2025 class. It is for in the next year, that is going to be seen as a pick that's going to be valuable. And what can I turn that into? So I would just say, if it's a league where, and we're in some leagues like this, where if you find the right person at the right time and you dangle the right asset in front of them, you may go, damn, that actually ended up being Devon Achane and CeeDee Lamb for Bijan. You know what I mean? Whatever it ended up being 6 months down the road, you're going to look and go, that was a pretty good deal for a running back. If it's a dead league and no one's ever going to trade and you're stuck drafting that 2025 first and you're getting Achane for Bijan in a start 9, I'm good just keeping the Bijan side. So I think that's a good process deal, but I don't want to be the one holding the bag when it's not active. So I just take that into consideration. We don't know his league, but I would say, if that's the case, then take the Bijan side. But otherwise, if it's an active and shaken league, give me the package.
Scott, this is a good one. Let's spend some time on this one, all right?
I saw it, man. I saw it.
Let's spend some time on this one. So Kyle Robertson, appreciate this, Kyle. Kyle says, honestly, Dynasty has lost a lot of the enjoyment for me lately. It's such an echo chamber of everyone trying to do the same things because every analyst on Twitter all tout the same shit. No conviction. Scott, take it.
He's not wrong, is he? I think so he's not wrong, but when you get in a league with the right people, what people are saying on Twitter, the echo chamber that you're hearing, a lot of the content that you're hearing out there, that's not the reality. I'm actually enjoying a lot of the leagues that we are in this year for different reasons, but I get where he's coming from. It is not truly a team building exercise like it used to be, but that's just redefining what Dynasty is. This is not I'm building a team and I'm going to let it sit there and simmer. I mean, we joke about that, but I think a lot of people got into Dynasty thinking, yeah, man, I got that taxi squad. I'm just going to make my draft picks and I'm going to build my team up for 2 or 3 years. And then boom, 2026, I'm going to have a Dynasty. But, and part of this to blame, I think, is the NFL. The NFL has changed. The NFL doesn't view players anymore as I'm building the dynasty. It is, I draft a rookie in the 3rd round and it's a safety. Like, he needs to play. It is not we're going to wait 3 years for things to mature as much as it used to be. So I think the league is dictating a lot of this, right? And just the maniacal way that coaches use players and offenses change from year to year and all. I mean, there's just so much turnover and such quick reactionary decisions from NFL teams that I just think we're following suit with our game. So it's really hard just to go, I'm building a core. And we talked about this last week and we talked about it on Trades in 5. When you get to the offseason, Ray, end of this season, how many players do you truly consider to be like cornerstone core pieces of your dynasty team? And I'm just curious what everyone in the chat says. Pick a number. I'll tell you it's less than 50. Probably less than 40. And that should just speak right there that it's not really dynasty if you're saying there's only about 30 to 40 players, maybe max, that are true dynasty pieces. Everything else is like, all right, I like that player. I like having him. I like having that on my team, but it's not unmovable. It's just another asset that I can move and day trade when the time comes where they turn on the stock market. So that's dynasty today. So I feel where if you're not into it for that, if you were in it 10 years ago and that's not what you're in for, I can feel it's bad. But I think you just kind of got to embrace what it is today.
So I'm going to try to articulate this as best I can. I think it's twofold. I don't know if the way that we play Dynasty is definitely different than how we played the game even 5 years ago. But I think where the disconnect is, or where a lot of people see just the wild extremes from one end of the other or the other, is I think it's more so trying to identify the strategies inside of the game that everybody, because there is an echo chamber, okay? There is a reactionary echo chamber via social media because that influences the content that is produced via podcast, via video on YouTube, written articles. It influences what you consume. It does, whether we realize it or not. But you're listening to your sports information content from somewhere. And if you just listen to a little bit of ESPN, I'm not telling you to listen to First Take for their hard-hitting analysis, but you see the stuff that they're talking about. And then you just take a wide breadth of Twitter, of Facebook, and you see everybody. Right now, what's everybody? Oh, Adam Thielen. Go get Adam Thielen. Go find him off of waivers. Go get this. We all know the same things, right? Everyone's talking about the same things, yes. But I think this is where getting involved in participating in a community, whether that's Destination Debbie, whether that's Destination this, whether that's fantasy football, that challenges your way of thinking about the game differently. We might be talking about the same players, but try to tap into something that challenges you to think about things differently. Because there's a lot of people at the beginning of the season, if I even insinuated you should trade Bijan Robinson, you would say you were out of your freaking mind, Ray. But as time goes on and you learn different strategies and techniques and you start to think, man, if I can move him, accumulate additional liquid capital that can help me be flexible to build my roster in other areas with those picks, you start to play it a little bit differently. You sit back and you realize that, love T. Higgins, the name. I love Drake London, the name, but the distribution of points in which they score for what they do and the value that they have, it makes sense for me to trade this player because I can find replaceable production with an Adam Thielen, with a Josh Reynolds. It challenges you to think about things. That's what happens, right? In sports, in life, if your opponent has figured you out or if everybody's thinking the same thing, singing the same song, you got to start to look at things a little bit differently. You got to go back and reevaluate the case, look at it from a different lens. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle. A lot of people struggle to find those areas to challenge them. And once challenged, you got to be open-minded to taking in new information as well. Right? You can't be like, I know better. This is how it's done. I don't give a damn what you're saying. You have to be open-minded enough to try those new things. So yes, the game is changing, but I think what that just makes it more important to do is for you to try new strategies to help you think about the game a little differently. Does that make sense?
It does. And it kind of goes back to, and I think our brains are wired pretty similarly. There's a reason we're doing this show. There's a reason we spend hours a day just talking through the most random situational stuff. And I know we both enjoy when there's members of our community that come in, they'll join, they don't even really participate, they don't say anything. And then 6 months down the road, they're right in the mix, making moves, coming up with ideas. And even if I don't agree with it, breaking down why somebody did something.
Yes.
Just ask, hey, why did you make that deal? I wouldn't have made the deal, but my reasoning might have been just as sound as yours. You just might see one thing differently, but you thought through it. You thought through the layers of not what the deal was, but also what the impact was going to be afterwards. I mean, that's why we play this game. We both probably came to this, and our backstories are totally different, but we both came to this from, we liked football, and we liked gambling on football, and we liked playing in fantasy leagues, and we liked the concept of watching players in football games score us fantasy points. Like, that's how we both got to Dynasty. But we got to Dynasty, and the reason we're making Dynasty content and we're talking about Dynasty is there's an extra layer aside from the football part. Because you especially, I know you are a football purist. Like, you would pick football over all of this. But
yes,
there's still something that keeps you involved in the back and forth and the game theory and the strategy. Whether it just keeps your brain sharp for regular life or whatever, but that's what we are ultimately chasing when we're playing Dynasty, right? It is someone put it in the chat, it is figuring out your league mates, reading other people. Like, isn't that what life in general is about in a lot of ways? But we're in this small microcosm. Yeah, Dynasty is football chess. We're in this small microcosm that also fits together with the sport of football. And you get some sort of satisfaction, even if you're wrong. Because I'm going to be wrong a ton. I'm only going to win 15% of my leagues, maybe. I'm going to fail. I estimated the other day, I'm going to not win money in 60% of my leagues, probably. Just on average, right? And that's not even that I'm bad or you're better or I'm worse or whatever. It's just that's the reality of, if you're playing in a lot of leagues, like, you're not going to win top 2 or 3 money in more than a third of them, 40% of them. Like, show me somebody that's won 70% of their leagues. I'll show you a liar. You know what I mean? So we're here for other reasons. We're here to challenge our brain. We're here to kind of try to outmaneuver other people. But the purest thing about it, the reason I get so much enjoyment in it is I want to be able to outmaneuver someone like Ray or someone like Brandon or some of the other people that I know are also sitting there thinking about ways they can beat me. Like, that's what we're ultimately here for, right? And if you took the fantasy football part away, I bet you we'd find something else to do that with, right?
Yeah.
Like you'd be like, all right, fantasy football's not doing it for me. I don't like Dynasty anymore. But you'd find yourself, in something else where you're trying to beat others, whether it's video games or, some sort of gambling pool. It's like you're always competitive. And we're all competitors. Nobody is lasting through this new Dynasty game if there's not a strategic and competitive edge to them that they just have to itch, and they're not itching it clearly in their real life because they're spending hours and hours a day in a Discord or on a YouTube channel watching this show. So that's why we're here. I mean, that ultimately, if you don't like that and this game is killing that vibe for you, then you probably want to find a new way to express that because it's not the Dynasty of old.
Dynasty football is the stock market for poor degenerates. I mean,
that's well said, right?
You know, and here's the thing. And I was thinking about this when you were talking about the stock market. Everybody likes to talk about the day trading game. Let me tell you why people say that and they really don't understand what they're saying. Day trading game, man. And in the real market, like, you can't wait for the thing to happen and then go try to chase it. You've got to be a little forward thinking, and you're taking some pretty strong bets. And you have to realize in the day trading game, there's going to be days where those bets go against you and they go against you real quick, right? But you don't abandon it. Like, you understand that variance that you're going to face. A lot of people say the day trading game, Scott, and it's really not that. They want to see the result happen and then try to go chase it or then try to sell it, right? You have to have somebody said it earlier. If you're not playing Dynasty with some level of conviction, what are you doing? I'm not telling you to go out there and gut feel every damn thing, but sometimes any analyst, and I'm finna call them out right now. I don't give a damn because I know we put in the work at DD. Any analyst telling you right now, if they're telling you go check out Hollywood, you might want to buy him now that Kyler Murray is back. Adam Thielen, you might want to buy him now that he's smashed for like 8 straight weeks, right? You might want to go check out those players. Anybody telling you that shit today, unsubscribe from them. We've been telling you that over literally for a month because there's a process to what we say. There's a process and data to what we do, right? So you got to I tell y'all, be mindful of the content you consume because, yes, I'm pretty sure if you're continuing to hear the same things with no reason why, and Scott, you're very big on the why. Like, tell me your process. Whether I agree or disagree, I want to make sure that the player that I'm playing against has a process. There is a why. There is a reason. We may disagree, baby, but there's a reason why we're doing things, man. And y'all, that's on you. Everybody in this stream right now, you know we love y'all, man. Y'all here with us every night, but that's on you to filter out that bullshit, right? That's on you to filter out that noise and go search for something. You might be sitting here and you hear Scott talk about war all the time. If you don't know what it is, go read. There's free. Go do. Scott, I got notebooks, dude, with just shit in it that I've written down. Like, oh, okay, this. All right, I'm gonna go look at that. Expected. How does this correlate with that? Like, I truly want to learn how to just beat people and do it in a stealth, covert, dominating, dope way. And that's why we do what we do. You know what I mean? I spend a lot less time grinding and cutting up film of how sweet somebody's routes look and a little more time looking at other things that are proven to be predictive. So you got to be mindful of the content you consume. That's on y'all. That's on you out there. Be mindful of this. You know what's BS out there. You know what's clickbait, regurgitated cycle content. If no one's telling you why or walking you through the reasons why this is this or this is that, I'd question it. You should question why for everybody. I don't care. Jasmine was talking about it earlier. Analyst or not, we ain't no different than y'all. Like, literally, Scott and I are no different than y'all. The only difference is probably we take a little more time to research and dive into the why things are happening in this game, looking back at stuff. Maybe that's the only difference is amount of time spent in this. But that's why we're here, and that's why y'all are tapped into us.
Yeah, you said a lot of good things in there. And even if, and I've grown to, this was something I was thinking about on my commute home yesterday. I was just out running some errands and was coming home and just thinking about, sometimes I'm a little crass to people, and I'll admit there's times on Twitter where I'll put things on, people's comments, and you kind of get after some of the same old clickbait tweets and the same stuff that you see over and over. And it is a lot of that analysis that you just mentioned. Wait for it to become obvious and then write the article about go do that. And we know as content creators, as someone that owns a website, like there's a purpose for some of that type of content out there.
Yes.
Like sometimes it's just, this is what we need to put out. That's fine. And there's people in Dynasty where they'll make a trade and I'll ask them, hey, that's probably a pretty good process deal for you. Can we work something out? And sometimes you ask somebody why they did a deal. Hey, why'd you make that trade? Because I'm curious. If I see trades, you do the same thing. I'll DM people. Hey, what were you thinking when you did that? Walk me through like what levels of thought you went through. And I think that kind of helps us not only relate to our community, but it also, there's times where people will say something and I go, yeah, I never thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's times people will just say, yeah, I traded for this player because I like him. And I go, you sure there's nothing more to that? There's not a trait about him that you like, not a market component to him. No, I just liked him. Just
believe in the talent.
As much as I want to go, well, that's probably not a great reason to make a deal, etc. You also want to embrace people that are still playing that way. Like, the last thing you want to do is run them out of the community and be like, no process, you're terrible, because I think it's going to come full circle. And someone hinted on it earlier. I don't remember who said it in the chat, but there are so many people that are playing the day trading game and playing the psychology game and just trying to get one over on people. And that's all they care about. That it's going to come full circle to where you're going to have to, how do I say this? The need to be able to separate yourself in the most basic ways of just evaluating situations and evaluating players is going to come back to an extent.
You think so?
So I think it's going to get to, maybe this is the utopian world we live in where everybody we're playing with continues to evolve at the same rate and we don't change up who we're playing in leagues with, etc. But I do think there's going to be a world where there's a place and a time for that. Yeah, I liked his tape. Gut feel. Just like how he plays. Like, there's going to be a time and a place to make those decisions. So I don't think you want to lose that component. That just should not be at all the foundation of what you do, nor should I saw it happen, so let me go chase it. So I think that's all it is just be kind to people that playing different and learn from them. But also, there's a lot of people we play with that jump into the community and they are at a level where they're just learning. That's all they have. They've never made a process trade. They've never thought about a deal. Damn, if I make this trade in a 14-team league, what is the ripple effect that's going to have on the rest of the market? What is that going to do to the 9 other teams that were looking to make a move? How are they going to react to what I just did? And sometimes there's negative value in doing those deals, and you don't even see it until it hits you in the face. But not everybody's at that level. So I guess I just have to remind myself to just pull back and realize that every time someone asks a trade question, sometimes it's just, what side do you like?
And you told the people, I'm not putting these words in your mouth. You said this at the start of the show, that you may answer some player take questions. And that is something you do not do often. So, because I know you and you are, you try to sneakily answer your way out of things. I'm going to be very careful in how I frame this. A very living example of what you're talking about, of still having some player take conviction. There is a very hot tight end name floating through the dynasty circles right now. And I'm talking about one Michael Mayer from the Las Vegas Raiders. So just vibe with me here. We're talking about this tight end in a league where tight ends matter, whatever that may be. Start 2 points per reception. The tight end matters. If I told you, Scott, like, I'm going to trade you, like, I'm going to give you the players that you want, and the fodder piece that I'm going to give back to you is Michael Mayer. Would you be like, oh, I would want, like, that's a tight end that you would like that. Would you mind having Michael Mayer in the deal? Would you take you some Michael Mayer? Okay. So with that being said, this is a tight end who, after the combine and after the draft process, people really didn't want him, right? Because they were, despite what we kind of saw on tape throughout his whole career at Notre Dame, the dude was, we talk about how productive Brock Bowers has been, and he's awesome. Michael Mayer was productive damn near every year at Notre Dame, and he was a good collegiate tight end. Like, you looked at him and you're like, yeah, he's probably pretty good. Like, Michael Mayer can probably play NFL tight end. He may not be some elite Travis Kelce, but nobody sat back and said that guy can't play in the NFL. But he fell because he didn't test well and got drafted behind. I mean, he was behind. In what world would I want Luke Musgrave over freaking Michael Mayer right now? Like, zero. And we're talking about players that don't, these are leagues retired. I don't want him. And part of it is, I look back to that, Scott, and even Dalton Kincaid, I understand the capital, but it didn't really happen for him to jump even Michael Mayer until way later in the process. And then the bias kind of took over. He hits Buffalo, and he's going to be the slot receiver. But if we're being and I got a lot of receipts out there because we talk a lot of college football, I wasn't putting no damn Dalton Kincaid over Michael Mayer. I'm like, dude, he's good, right? So it just goes back to, if you had that conviction to draft Mayer and hold through the variance because you couldn't trade him for anything, you're probably feeling pretty damn good today. you're probably feeling pretty. I bet you a lot of people, and I know that KTC has Dalton Kincaid at tight end 6, but right now you're probably feeling a little more bullish and a little more momentum on that Michael Mayer than you do even a Dalton Kincaid right now. And that's just having that conviction of, look, I saw him do it for 3 straight years at Notre Dame. The capital was fine. He's probably going to be a starting tight end in the NFL. You're probably feeling good today, man.
Yeah, I actually took a lot of Michael Mayer for the same reason of just like, I'm just going to bet on him becoming, and maybe it was, and again, maybe I'm getting out of the question on, do I like Michael Mayer? I do, but it's also just having a real basic understanding of the position. And he was a value. He got drafted after Laporta. He got drafted way after Kincaid. People didn't love his landing spot. So it was like, he fell to a range where I ended up with 9 shares of Michael Mayer. And I've just kind of been sitting on him, and it's kind of nice to see you check that team for the first time, and you're like, yeah, I got Michael Mayer. I can finally consider playing him, So it is kind of found money. So, yeah, it's
okay, here's a good one, Scott. Here's a great one. Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Ooh.
So Dustin just JSN. How do you feel? This was a player going into the season, I believe right at the start of the season in September, valued as wide receiver 12, wide receiver 11 in Dynasty. We know what the season is. I don't need to go through all of that. Everybody knows he hadn't done a damn thing. He had 4 catches, 48 yards. He smashed. That was great for JSN standards. What best prospect since Chase? How are you feeling about this guy? JSN, the best since Jamar Chase.
I mean, watching him last week, like I haven't really watched him specifically, like every single play because they played the Bengals. I did. Nothing stuck out to me. And what am I? I'm just an amateur football watcher. Nothing stuck out to me, but that really kind of fit with what his profile was the whole time. Like everyone even said, like nothing just shocks you when you watch him. But it's hard to argue a lot of the things that he brought to the table too. So you're kind of just betting on one of these guys. Sounds like kind of the wide receiver version of Michael Mayer. You're just going, you know what? It's steady. It's solid. It's going to be good. Were we a little over our skis, though, hyping him up to the point where it was like the best prospect, can't miss prospect? I guess when I see what he's been thus far, that outcome is very hard to imagine. But when you say JSN, there's still an appeal that, you get the feels when you hear his name. You hear his name, right, Ray? Someone says his name and you go, man, I'd like to have a couple shares because you just know how everyone else sees it. And you saw the reaction of the player and you saw the reaction of the draft capital and everything. So I'm still feeling good.
But how much of that is him? How much of that is Geno Smith not playing well either?
I think very, very little of it is probably him in his own profile or talent. I think a lot of it's just the situation hasn't broken perfectly, but I also don't think it was a terrible situation to bet on either. You look at what their offense was last year, super efficient, and all it was betting on maybe changes happening from last year and then keeping the efficiency. You were wrong thus far, but it's only been 6 weeks. So I'm feeling good. I'm still feeling good about my JSNs. Where does the market go? We'll see.
How good are you feeling about your Rashad Bateman? Kyle's asking about Rashad Bateman. Is he just what he's shown so far in the league, or is he still working his way back from those injuries? We just got to give him a little more time for that Rashad Bateman, eh, Scott?
It's funny because you can't get anything for him, but it also feels like he's a 2-game decent stretch from there being a market again. So I think he's a lesson learned of.
You think people would buy Bateman? 2 good games.
No. What I mean is there's a 2-game stretch of like you could sell him for a second. You could sell him for a second and a third, something like that.
You think so? You think that is a.
Yes. If he went out and had 18 targets and went 15 catches for 150 and a touchdown over the next 2 games, you would be able to sell him. And that would be one of those players where you would go, man, 2 years down the road, I can still get 80% of what I paid in that original rookie draft. And just think about that outcome. Think about that outcome versus some other players. Think about the name Rashad Bateman versus the name Quentin Johnston.
No.
If Quentin Johnston had Rashad Bateman's career where he is right now, he's forgotten. You think people are going to – do you think there'd be a buy window for a player people hated after 2 years? No. I think that speaks to – we'll see if it happens. I don't know if Bateman's capable of it, but we'll see if it happens. If it does, though, realize the difference between – because Bateman was a guy people generally liked. They liked him.
Yes.
They didn't like it, and they also didn't like his original situation, which I think excused away some of his early non-production. Oh, man, Baltimore, nobody produces there. So it was like the perfect storm of factors where he goes out and has 2 good games, Ray. Yes, you'll be able to get a second for him. 100%. 100%.
Man, I like this. All right, we got 2 super chats real quick here, Scott. Want to pull these up. Where's this one at? I could go up here. All right, here it is right here. We got one right here from Good Fella. He said, y'all boys spitting. Don't be a lazy manager. Appreciate you, Good Fella. Got another one right here. Creed Bratton. Another trade. Another one, fellas. 12 teams. Superflex start 9. Pitts versus Deontay and a 25 first. I'm not. There's no tight end premium. I don't think this is any kind of. I don't know. I don't think it's any bonus. I'm just taking it as a PPR, Scott.
Yeah, let me ask you this, because we get a ton of these Kyle Pitts questions on leagues where tight ends don't matter. How much are you willing to speculate on Pitts knowing what you know about the tight end position, knowing how flat it is? What is that tax you are willing to pay in a league where tight end does not mean shit? What is the tax you are willing to pay to gamble on Pitts being the difference maker? Is it an extra first? Is it a semi-productive? Because I could argue Deontay Johnson is on the fringe of mattering in a start 9 too.
Yes.
So, are you willing to kick in? Because really you're just speculating here. If Pitts hits and he is a difference maker, it's the Pitts side all day because you gave away a receiver that's very replaceable. If he doesn't hit, you essentially gave away 2 pieces for something you could have streamed for free. Ooh. And that's a very hard concept for people to really work through in their head. But where are you at on Pitts? Are you in a league where tight end does not matter? But if you had TJ Hawkinson, you're probably winning the league, right? Like, what is that worth to you to speculate? Are you throwing a random first just at the 30% shot that Pitts gets there in the next 3 years?
Here's the thing. You can't say Pitts without saying the whole damn situation. And it's that situation that I'm just not willing to bet on. Kyle Pitts, absolutely. I have no problem betting on his talent being a difference-making level of talent. I have zero faith and confidence that Desmond Ridder, nor this offense, nor Taylor Heineke, the fact that they want to use Jonnu Smith, I can't bet on that situation. So I would just say this. I have no problem with trading Deontay in the first. I would try to find somebody else. I'd rather just spend that money somewhere else, knowing that he probably will be able to come back and buy Pitts later. I got another one that we got to get to, and this is going to wrap it up. This is a really good one, so we're going to wrap with this one, Scott. 12-team Superflex start 10, 1.5 tight end premium. Core players, QBs, Hurts, Howell, Minshew, Bryce Young. You got Bijan, Monty, Miles Sanders at running back. Got Garrett Wilson, JSN, Jerry Jeudy, MT, Jahan Dotson, Rashad Bateman. Oh, man, what a cluster right there. Mims and Rashid Shaheed, tight ends, Mark Andrews. What the hell do I do with this team? 4-2, no 24 first, and 3 seconds. No 24 first, 3 seconds. Okay. So what do you do? Like, he's 4-2, so he's winning, right? He's winning. But you don't feel good. You're down 2 running backs this week. Your receivers, I mean, this is the dead zone range right there if I've ever seen it. Dotson, Bateman, Jeudy, woof. That is you're drafting with pure freaking hope those guys are going to do something, and they don't do a damn thing for you week after week. Jeudy screaming on the field, getting you 3 damn catches. What do you do with this team, Scott? What do you do with this squad?
Well, in short, this is probably a team that is benefited by like having to start Sam Howell the game he scored 30-plus points, and you've just had to start David Montgomery every game that he was healthy. So that's probably what's pushing you to the 4-2. There's a lot of hopium in that wide receiver room. I mean, right? You start from JSN and beyond. It's like, man, every single one of those players is like you went into the season feeling real strong about that receiver core, and now you're like, man, do I have anything salvageable? So I think this is one where I'm kind of okay just making some true dynasty trades, for the future. And if I stay in contention, maybe things flip my way. But there's no way I'm taking those 3 seconds and going, let me just patchwork that Monty and Miles Sanders and let me go buy an Adam Thielen. You know what I mean? You're just doubling down on what's already going to be a problem. So I'd probably be going the other way. Focus on next year. If you sneak in the playoffs, you never know what will happen. But I think this is one of those teams that's not staying.
Would you sell some of these players and try to acquire some first? Could you move? I'll just tell you this: you want to keep Jalen Hurts. I would probably keep Bryce Young, Bijan Robinson, Garrett Wilson, Mark Andrews. Everybody else would probably go. And hell, I'd I'd trade just about anybody. But who
you got to get creative. You got to be creative here. You don't spam Dotson for a first. You don't spam Judy for a first. You got to figure out a trigger for other managers and go, okay, this team might be 4-2, but they don't have the same bleak outlook that I do. What would be appealing to them? Do they like Sam Howell and Jerry Jeudy? Can I get a first for something like that? Like, you got to be creative. It's not going to be 1-for-1 where everything you're trying to sell, people are going to.
Here's what you do. I got you right here. Here's a real actionable one. I guarantee you can get a first plus. David Montgomery's going to miss a couple of weeks, right? The moment he comes back, let's just say you lose the next 2 weeks, right? That he's out and you're 4-4. The moment Montgomery comes back, package him up with Judy, with Dotson, with Bateman, with MT, go to a contender, package up Monty with one of those receivers, get you a 24 first, plus try to get a second, try to get a 24 first and a third. Just at the moment Monty is active and everybody, he's back, top 5, he's going to smash versus whomever, you got to trade him. Package up one of them Dotsons, one of them Batemans. That's how you get creative and you plan a landmine on somebody. So appreciate y'all tonight. A different vibe tonight. We just wanted to kick it with y'all, chill, answer some questions, a little AMA, and I enjoyed it. Scott, anything you want to say to people before we get out of here? I know we're late for an appointment right now.
Nope, just appreciate everybody tuning in. This was just Ray and I back and forth. Some real technical stuff coming on DD here in the next couple weeks. Anyone that wants more, Ray's going to be jumping on the AMA and the Discord here in a couple minutes. He'll be online with Brandon Gonzalez-Cottrell. He is the magic behind the DD Twitter feed. Yes. So if you want to chop it up with Brandon and Ray, jump into the Discord starting here in a couple minutes. So appreciate everybody tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.
Peace out.